Hello there and welcome to this video. My name's Kris, I'm an Australian GP, and welcome back to another installment of Health Conditions 101. Today we're going to be tackling arrhythmias. An arrhythmia is essentially an irregular heartbeat. Typically, our hearts beat in what is known as sinus rhythm. That is, there are electrical impulses from the sinus node in the heart, which is kind of up the top, which sends signals down a couple of electrical pathways to the AV node, or the atrioventricular node, which is in the middle of the heart, which then sends further signals off into the ventricles. These signals tell your heart when to pump. With a normal rhythm, our beats are coordinated and timed at about 60 to 100 beats per minute. There are several different types of arrhythmias, and all of them are caused by issues in the electrical conduction system. Sometimes they're congenital, basically you're born with it, and other times there are certain illnesses and injuries which can induce one. A couple of risk factors for an arrhythmia include having a heart attack, type 2 diabetes, being overweight or obese, having obstructive sleep apnea, having an irregularly sized heart called cardiomyopathy, being in heart failure, having high blood pressure, and thyroid abnormalities. Other triggers for arrhythmias that aren't pre-existing medical conditions can include alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, tiredness, being acutely unwell, so like having a cold, being on certain medications, and stress. So there's a lot of things that can make the heart flip out of a normal rhythm. There are several types of arrhythmias, so I'm going to run through them very quickly and very basically. The first type is called atrial fibrillation. This is where the atria, or the top chambers of the heart's electrical conduction system, overwhelms the system overall, causing the atria to twitch or fibrillate. Basically, it's not contracting properly, nor is it contracting in time with the ventricles for a good sustained heartbeat. The next type is atrial flutter. It's very similar to atrial fibrillation, though a little less chaotic. Then we've got ectopic beats, in which for one reason or another your heart misses or gains an extra beat. This can happen in either the atria or the ventricles, and it happens quite commonly even in healthy individuals, and more times than not it has no sequelae, so essentially it happens but it's fine. Next up we've got heart blocks, where at various points of the electrical conduction system the electrical message isn't conveyed to the muscles, or it is significantly delayed. There are several types of heart block, which I'm not going to go into just now. Next we have prolonged QT syndrome. So when we talk about the rhythms of the heart, we've got a P wave, which is the electrical polarization of the atria. Then we've got a QRS wave, and then a T wave. So QRS is when the ventricles are also going, and then we've got a T wave, which is the repolarization. So there has to be an electrical polarization, then repolarization. I'm just breaking this down to basics. I know you're probably like, what does that even mean? But anyway, long QT syndrome, so remember it's P, Q, R, S, T, is when there is a long time between the Q wave and the T wave, meaning that there's a long time between when the heart can beat and then beat again. Next up, we've got Brugada Syndrome, which is actually a genetic abnormality in the sodium channels, because each electrical conduction has a flow of electrolytes and electrons. Wow, that was really hard to get out. Sodium being one of them. And if there is an abnormality in the channel that allows sodium to come and go, then there's an abnormality in the electrical conduction, which can lead to sudden cardiac death. Next, we've got Wolff-Parkinson-White Syndrome, in which there's an accessory pathway known as the bundle of Kent. This communicates between the atria and the ventricles and essentially makes it very hard to coordinate a beat. Supraventricular Tachycardia is our next one, or SVT for short, which is where there is an abnormality in the electrical conduction in the atria, which sit above the ventricles, hence supraventricular tachycardia, which causes the heart rate to raise suddenly over 100 beats per minute. Sick sinus syndrome, or triple S, is next. And this is where the natural pacemaker, or the sinus node, is compromised for one reason or another and cannot regulate, meaning your heart rate will be wildly irregular. Ventricular tachycardia, or VTAC, is an abnormality in the ventricular electrical system, causing it to beat very, very fast, which can then lead into ventricular fibrillation, our last one for today. So VFib is where the ventricles will pump fast, erratically, and ineffectively, which can lead to cardiac arrest. Symptoms will vary wildly depending on the type of arrhythmia you have, but may include palpitations or feeling your heart beating in your chest, sensation of a fast heart rate, sensation of a missed heartbeat or added heartbeats, feeling short of breath, chest pain, anxiety, feeling really fatigued, feeling lightheaded or faint, and sometimes sweating. If we suspect you have an arrhythmia, we will organise an ECG, an electrocardiogram, to look at the electrical conduction of the heart. And we may also organise a 24-hour version of this called a Holter monitor, because an ECG captures 15 seconds of your day, whereas you might not have the arrhythmia in those 15 seconds, but might in the next minute. So a 24-hour Holter gives us a really good idea of what's happening. We may also organise imaging of the heart, such as a chest x-ray or an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of the heart, looking at the valves and the muscles. And we may also do blood tests to look at your general health and things that may influence your cardiac rhythm, such as your thyroid and things like that. Depending on the arrhythmia, treatments will vary, which I know sounds like a cop-out, but essentially we've got two main ways to control arrhythmias: rhythm control and rate control. So rhythm is trying to get you back into sinus rhythm, and rate control is trying to bring your heart rate down. Having an increased heart rate, and an irregular one at that, increases your risk of sending off clots, therefore increases your risk of heart attack and stroke. So sometimes we will put you on blood thinners to reduce this risk. Sometimes cardiologists and cardiothoracic surgeons will try and ablate or burn off any accessory pathways so that your heart's natural rhythm can be restored. And sometimes we'll place a pacemaker in to set the pace for the heart, essentially bypassing your arrhythmia. And finally, what a cardiothoracic surgeon may do is put in an implantable cardiac defibrillator, or ICD, which is what it sounds like, a implantable defibrillator, which can shock the heart back into a normal rhythm if needed. So that's Arrhythmias 101. I hope you've learned something. Let me know what topic you'd like me to cover next, and until next time guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye.